The champagne flute was a lie, its delicate crystal stem a promise of a life that was never meant to be hers. Alara's reflection in the penthouse elevator's polished brass walls was a ghost. She wore her sister's dress, a slinky, silver designer piece that clung to her in all the wrong ways, making her feel like a child playing dress-up. The scent of her sister's perfume, fracas, a bold, white floral, was a cloying shroud around her. It was the scent of ambition, of a calculated life, not the simple jasmine and old books that defined Alara's own existence. "Please, Alara," Isabella had begged, her voice a frantic whisper over the phone. "It's one dinner. Alistair Croft is a recluse, a single dad. He'll be boring. He'll talk about stock markets and his kid. I'll be stuck there for hours while my entire future with Julian is happening at that gallery opening tonight. He's going to propose, I know it. If I miss it." The unspoken end of that sentence hung between them, heavy as lead. "If I miss it, I'll never forgive you." Alara, the quieter, plainer sister, the one who worked as a library restorer and whose social life consisted of tea with elderly neighbors, was the logical sacrifice. She was the stand-in, the understudy in the grand play of Isabella's life. Their resemblance was enough to pass in dim lighting, especially to a man who had only seen a photograph. The elevator doors slid open directly into the foyer of the penthouse. It wasn't an apartment, it was a monument to minimalist wealth. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a bleeding sunset over the city skyline. The air was cold, sterile, smelling of lemongrass and money. And there he was. Alistair Croft was not what she had expected. He wasn't a portly, balding CEO from a corporate pamphlet. He was tall, with the broad shoulders of a man who hadn't abandoned the gym for his desk. His dark hair was swept back, but a single lock fell over his brow, and his eyes were the color of a winter storm, and they were fixed on her with an intensity that stole the breath from her lungs. "Isabella Vance," he said. His voice was a low baritone, a vibration she felt in her bones. It wasn't a question. Alara's heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird. She forced a smile, the one she'd practiced in the mirror. "Mr. Croft, it's a pleasure to meet you." He didn't return the smile. He simply gestured towards the living area. "Please." A woman, who he introduced as Mrs. Davies, the housekeeper, served them an exquisite meal on a table that looked like a slab of frozen moonlight. The conversation was a minefield. "Your profile mentioned you're an art consultant," Alistair stated, his stormy eyes dissecting her over a forkful of seared scallop. "Yes," Alara breathed, her mind racing. "Mostly impressionists. The play of light, you know. It's transcendent." She was parroting phrases from Isabella's art magazines. "I prefer the old masters," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "There's a truth in their work. A lack of pretense. You can see the brushstrokes of their labor, not just the dreamy effect." Alara felt a bead of sweat trace a path down her spine. She was all pretense, a dreamy effect about to dissolve. "And your family?" he asked, a seemingly casual question that felt like a tightening noose. "My parents are, well, I have a sister." That, at least, was true. The words felt like sand in her mouth. "She's quieter, prefers books to people." "A sensible woman," Alistair murmured, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of something in his eyes that wasn't analytical coldness. It looked like interest. It was then that a small sound came from the hallway. A little girl, no more than 5, with a riot of chestnut curls and Alistair's stormy eyes, peeked around the corner. She clutched a worn-out teddy bear. "Lily," Alistair said, his voice softening for the first time. "I thought you were asleep." "I had a bad dream," the little girl whispered, her eyes wide and fixed on Alara. Alara's carefully constructed facade cracked. This wasn't part of the script. The CEO, the wealth, the intimidation, she had braced for that. But a child, a small, frightened child. Her heart, a maternal, gentle thing she kept locked away, gave a painful lurch. Without thinking, she slid from her chair and knelt, bringing herself to Lily's eye level. The silver dress pooled around her on the cold floor. "Hello, Lily," she said, her voice shedding Isabella's practiced, melodic tone and returning to its natural, softer cadence. "That's a very brave bear you have there. Does he have a name?" Lily hesitated, then shuffled forward. "Barnaby." "Barnaby is a wonderful name for a protector," Alara smiled. When I have bad dreams, I find that a cup of warm milk and a story about faraway kingdoms helps. The good nights always scare the dream monsters away. She wasn't performing anymore. This was her. The real her. The one who comforted scared children and mended torn pages. Lily took another step, entranced. Alistair watched the exchange, his expression unreadable, a muscle ticking in his jaw. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. After Mrs. Davies took a now calm Lily back to bed, the air between Alara and Alistair had changed. It was thicker, charged. He asked fewer questions, but his observations were more pointed. Finally, she stood to leave, her nerves frayed to their breaking point. "Thank you for a lovely evening, Mr. Croft." He walked her to the elevator. As she pressed the call button, praying for a swift escape, his hand covered hers, stopping her. His touch was electric, sending a jolt up her arm. "The elevator requires my biometrics to descend from this floor after 9 p.m., he said, his voice quiet but absolute. Alara's blood ran cold. She looked up at him, her mask of composure finally shattering. "What? It's a security protocol," he explained, his winter storm eyes holding hers captive.